customers lying is not a new concept.
We inherently try to tell these lies that avoids conflict. And I think sales is a conflict situation for a lot of people. We have to develop systems which help customers not feel like they have to lie, steal, cheat, and hide from us.
As the sales professional, when we do and say the things that sales professionals do and say, customers are going to lie, cheat, steal, lie, hide. So if we want to avoid that, we need to stop doing the things that all the other sales reps do.
Welcome to Price, Sell, Paint, the go-to podcast for painting contractors and sales professionals in the painting industry. Hosted by industry experts Jon Bryant and Michael Murray. This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Price, Sell, Paint podcast. I am Jon Bryant, here with my trusty co-host Michael Murray. Today, Michael, I want to talk to you about something recently that I had a conversation I had with a sales rep just about, they were starting out, they were new, and they felt a lot like they had good things going with customers, and the customers it wasn't as good as they first thought. And so that was, they'd had these great conversations. They would leave. I would talk to them and say, how'd it go? And then they would, 3 days later be like, man, that person was a jerk. They never called me back. They told me all these things that weren't true. And so it got me thinking about this concept called, the customers lie, steal, cheat, and hide. I don't know if you've heard about that before, but it's a pretty common Sandler system.
Yep.
And I want to talk to you about that today.
Yeah, I think customers lying is it's not a new concept. This whole thing, right? And I love it, right? So what game are we playing, I think, as sales reps? And what's the game that the customers are playing? And how do we kind of get past some of the barriers that we might experience every day? Love it. Let's
Absolutely.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's dive into that concept.
So I always think about, and this was brought up to me by somebody else years ago, but this concept of that we all do it. We all lie to sales reps. We all cheat, steal, hide. And the example that was brought up to me was, every time we go to Best Buy and someone says to us, hey, what brings you to the store today? And Michael, what do you always say?
I'm just browsing, just looking around, just checking things out here. No help. I don't need
why
it.
are you actually in the store? Were you just
because I'm so bored and I have nothing to do and I'm an incredible loser, so I just wanted to walk around Best Buy. Or it's because I need a new TV and that's supposedly where I could go to get TV. I didn't just happen chance.
So why
into
did
the
you
store.
say you were browsing? What was that all about? You liar?
Yeah. So one, I might just be a pathological liar and I have problems. Or two, I don't want to be sold some BS by some salesperson.
So
probably two.
Where did you learn that from? Yeah, probably two. Either you are a pathological liar, which it may be the case still, but
I think, where did I learn that from? I don't know. I think it's a defense mechanism. It's I think it goes back to my caveman ancestors when they went in the cave and somebody tried to sell them a stick they didn't need or something. I don't know.
Right.
Where did I learn that from?
Our DNA. First, they looked at the sun for 30 minutes and then they lied to a sales rep.
Yes.
They were grounding.
They woke up and 4 a.m, did their workout and all their things.
Constant on the lookout for prey.
10x.
And sales reps, right? I think it's it's so true. For some reason, I don't know where it comes from, but I think it's conflict. We want to avoid conflict. Yep. And so we inherently try to tell these lies that avoids conflict. And I think sales is a conflict situation for a lot of people.
For sure.
So, I think we prepared a little bit of stuff. We want to help everybody listening today with what you can do about this. Essentially, what's helpful. Can
I give a real world example just to go right off this? Literally happened this week.
Go for it.
I was talking, so we have our sales training here at Textbook once a week, meet with our sales team. I, go through different, whatever stuff like we talk about on the podcast. And one of the things that we were talking about is customers saying that your price is too high. We've talked about that as one of the episodes. And I was telling specifically one of the sales reps who stuck around afterwards to talk about an appointment. And I was like, dude, look, everybody says that. That is the most common thing when there's something else wrong. And I said, listen, like, I'll give you a real example. So here's like, again, 100% true. So here's what's going on at the Murray house. We have a squirrel that got into our attic, and that's bad. And like, I care about it. And my wife like really cares about it. Right. So like, she's freaking out. We got the squirrel, and I'm just like, yeah, it's in the attic. Like, yeah, we need to get rid of this, but it's very high on her priority list. So now it's really high on my priority list, if you get what I'm going at there. And so I get the guy to come out. I call Orkin, one of these pest control big companies, whatever. So this guy comes out, not good at sales, and he's not there very long. Doesn't ask me a lot of questions. And he's just like, "Yep, all right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put these like metal gutter guards all over your gutters." And I'm like, "What? Like, I already have gutter guards. There's leaf guards like on my gutters that I put on a few years ago. They seem to work fine." I'm like, what does this have to do with squirrels? And some other stuff, didn't really explain it all that well. A couple like, little pieces of sheet metal in some of the corners or something. It's like, okay, like that doesn't seem like helpful, but all right. How much is that? It's like $3,800. And I was like, well, $3,800 to put some gutter guards. Dude, I bought these from Costco. They were like $250. I put them on myself. They keep the leaves out. What is it? Like, no. I'm just like, dude, your price.
Keep the squirrels out, Michael.
I'm like, your price is like way too high here. Like, I don't understand. Like, he's like, oh yeah, like the gutter guards, and they're like the super duper ones, and they're like the gutter squirrel stopper 2000, whatever. And I'm just like, this is what? Like, no, your price is. I'm not paying $3,800. And so here's what I was telling our sales reps, or my sales rep, I should say, that like the problem here isn't the $3,800. The problem is that he never took the time to understand what my problem was. Yeah, like part of the issue is it's the squirrels. Sure, fine. But the real problem is like, I want my wife to not have to feel the stress that's coming from the fact that a squirrel got into our attic and she could hear it running around up there and it's keeping her up at night. And because when she's stressed, I'm stressed, right? She's taking it out on me. She's saying, hey, look, we got to get rid of this thing. Like, I'm upset. You got to fix this problem, as she should. It is I got to take care of this stuff.
Going back to the caveman days.
That's right. Happy wife, happy life here, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that hard. And so, but the guy like never asked me any questions like, hey, how is this affecting you? Like, what's going on here? Has this been going on for a while? Is it causing stress? Is it like whatever? He didn't like elaborate on the actual problem. So I'm not feeling any like significant pain here. I'm just like, yeah, squirrel. Somebody could just go up there and like, kill the thing or whatever, just get it out of the house. And like, let's just move on with our day. And he's trying to sell me some like super duper thing that I don't even understand. And he's not giving me any options. Really, again, he's not allowing me to make a buying decision. He's just selling me something, and not well. And so what I did is just said, I'm going to get some other quotes and like, I'll get back to you. And I haven't gotten any other quotes. It's probably been like a week and a half because I don't have time and I'm never going to get back to the guy. Yeah. And so he leaves there and he's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like the guy said he's going to get some other quotes, and that's just what customers do. And so like, I've still got a shot on this one. He's never followed up with me. And I'm just like, I'm using this as an example for our sales team of like, this is exactly what not to do. He didn't ask me any questions. He didn't explain the value. He didn't help me understand, like, is there some guarantee that like, I'll never have another squirrel in my house ever again? Like 100%. If there ever happens, they're coming out that day, they're fixing this thing for me. Like, oh, okay. Like that might be worth some money here. But none of that stuff. It was just like, yep, here's what we're doing. Here's the price, here's where you sign. And I'm just like, what? Like, no, not even a little bit. And so then I lied. As the customer, I got to get some other quotes. I don't want to get other quotes. I don't got to get other quotes. There's no rule that says you have to get other quotes. I just don't like this guy. And so instead of saying, hey, you're really bad at sales and you should listen to the Price Sell Paint podcast so you could get better at it, I was just like, I need to get other quotes. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is pretty common, right? I think as sales reps, that guy, like you said, he's leaving. He's thinking, man, Michael's going to sign up with me for sure. He's going to get other quotes and he's going to call me. And we have to develop systems which help customers not feel like they have to lie, steal, cheat, and hide from us. And that's something that is, I think, challenging for most of us because I think deeply ingrained, as is the need to avoid salespeople, that goes back to our caveman days, is the fact that we think we know what a salesperson should be. And so we've got this really negative loop happening where salespeople are acting the way they think that salespeople should. and customers are acting the way they think. They believe salespeople are going to act a certain way. Those salespeople are self-fulfilling that, and then they are acting the way that they believe they should. And so we need to develop a system as professional sales reps, which help us move past that and get better conversations and better experiences for people buying.
It's very, it's very like Pavlov's dog, right? As the sales professional, when we do and say the things that sales professionals do and say, customers are going to lie, cheat, steal, lie, hide. So if we want to avoid that, we need to stop doing the things that all the other sales reps do.
Exactly. So why don't we get into this? Like I said at the start, we want to talk about, what are these things and how to combat them. And by the end of this, you should have a clearer understanding of what's happening on the customer side and how to actually facilitate a great conversation. So,
love it.
So let's go through first. Obviously we talked a little about lying. Michael, you're a huge liar. Thanks for admitting that.
So what's the first lie? So there's actually 2 lies in the system. So the first one, and then there's one towards the end. Give us, some examples of that first lie. We use like the TV example is just like, just browsing, right? I'm not serious yet. We're just getting some quotes. We really don't have a budget yet. We don't really have any idea what this might cost. Mm-hmm. Right. Some of the things that you might hear very early on in a sales appointment.
So just need a price, send over the bid, stuff like that. And we'll get back to you. So I think there's that up front. And so customers are immediately trying to downplay the situation. Like, I just called you and took an hour out of my day to meet with you, but I'm not serious at all. Mm-hmm. So let's not pretend that I'm serious, because it's like we're trying to de-escalate constantly. So that's kind of the first thing. And what's most helpful here? Should we go through the solution each one of these, or go through each 5 of them first and then talk solutions? What do you think?
I think we take them one at a time. So again, this whole Sandler system goes back to the customer system, just to lay it out, is lie, cheat, steal, lie, hide. So that's what we're going to walk through. So this first lie, again, things like hey, thanks for coming out, John. Appreciate it. We're just getting some quotes here, and starting to figure out maybe we might be doing some painting this year. Not really sure. So if you could just like kind of walk around the house and give me some quotes. Give me a quote. That'd be great. Send it over.
So this happens all the time. If you're listening as a sales rep, I'm sure you may hear this 4 times, 5 times today. I think we all do this. So what would you recommend to people to solve that?
First of all, it sounds innocent enough, right? Like I don't hear like a major lie here. Just like you show up at Best Buy, I'm just looking around a little bit, which is kind of true. Just walked in the store, like I just kind of got to get my bearings a little bit, but it's like, it's kind of like a half lie, half truth. Customers, we're just kind of starting to gather some ideas of what this might be. It's like, no, you already been doing some research. Right. That's what we have to realize, is that customers already are pretty well educated, even if you're the first estimate out at their house. They've already done a lot of research on your website. They've read Google reviews of you, your competitors. They've gone on some of the big home advisor websites and places like that to try to find pricing ideas. They've been on Sherwin-Williams' website to research about the paints they should be using. Probably been in some of the paint forums. Their homeowners are generally trying to do some self-education, just like you would, right? If you show up to go buy a car, you probably have a pretty good idea that like, yep, I kind of already know what I'm looking for, but you walk on that lot, a car sales guy walks up, oh yeah, I just need to walk around a little bit here, just checking things out. It's like, really? You already know exactly what car you're looking for when you show up. Again, customers doing that too.
So like, we know this is happening. What's the secret to getting past it?
Yeah. I think the, first thing is just kind of meet where they're at. It's like, okay, yeah, no problem. Like, I understand you're at this point, you're just looking to get some quotes and things like that, but to make sure that I do a great job for you, would it be okay if we just sat down for a few minutes so I could ask you some questions? I want to make sure that, what I'm going to provide you in the quote is exactly what you're looking for. Right. And so what that might cause for the customer is like a pattern interrupt, right? Most sales professionals show up and it's just like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll walk around and start putting some numbers together for you. That's what they're expecting you to do. And so it's doing the opposite of that. It's, taking the time to get to know the customer, understand their pain points. We've talked about so much on this podcast over the last year or whatever, asking good questions and like really starting to like develop some of the bond and rapport and all of those things and really just slowing down that process.
Absolutely. So it's one, identifying it, right? So you're identifying that lie and then acknowledging like, hey, that sounds great. I think a great approach, if say you're selling the Best Buy example again, is probably like, hey, I'm just here to browse. Like, hey, no problem. I mean, pretty much everybody here is buying at some point, but browsing, we get that. So would it be okay, if I were to check in with you in like 5 or 10 minutes and see how you're doing? Is that fair? And so we need to move that along a little bit and say, like, I'd love to find out a little bit more what you're going with, and get them agreeing, I think, to what the next step is in the process. So that word fair, I think, has always been really helpful for me, of like, hey, that's not a problem, and here's my solution, here's my next step. Is that fair?
I think it even just goes back to that first question though, right? That Best Buy sales rep says like, oh, hey, what brings you in? Or like, hey, can I give you some help? As opposed to like a different question that isn't the one that we're so like, again, it's Pavlov dog, right? Sales rep says, hey, like, what brings you in today? Or, hey, would you like some help? As you walk in the store, like, hey, how can I help? And you're just like, no, I just need a look. But if they ask you a different question, right? Whatever that might be, like, oh, hey, like, welcome back to Best Buy. Are you aware of like our special gift we have for repeat customers? And they're just like, wait, what? Like, no, there's a special gift. And like, I'm not just saying lie, but it's just like, as a retail business, like, you could have some way to greet people when they first walk in the store that isn't the normal thing. And it's like, it could be a bottle of water. Like, it doesn't have to be something crazy, but it's just like, all of a sudden we've pattern interrupted. And it's just like, oh, like, yeah, no, I'm not really familiar with that. I have shopped here before. Like, what is that? Is that new? And it's just like, oh yeah, we just got, these nice bottles of water for people coming into the store. Like, we'd love to grab you one. Would you like one? And it's like, oh, sure, I guess. Yeah, why not? Right. And all of a sudden we've just like taken this normal interaction, this dance that everybody's so used to playing forever, and we've changed it. And so I think we need to start thinking about, what do we do when we get to somebody's house? Does it sound like everyone else? Oh, hey, like Mr. Bryant, it's great to meet you. Thanks for having me out. I'm Michael from Textbook Painting. You want to like kind of show me what we're painting today? It's probably what everybody else says.
I think the reason this works, by the way, is that like, we're trying to lower buyer, like, I don't even like it phrased this way, but trying to lower the buyer's defenses and pivot to their concerns. I think whenever we see this as like a weird, us trying to fight with the customer to win their business, that's never resonated with me all that well. But ultimately, we're trying to make things more comfortable and combat that need to lie. I think actually a big part of this one as well is acknowledging that they don't need to buy from you. And if we can do that sooner up front, it helps. Like, I don't get every job. Like, quite frankly, I'm shooting for 50%. And if you feel that way at any time that this is not the right fit, just let me know. That's a huge one, actually, to help just be honest about the situation and diffuse some of that need to lie. Which is like, just be honest with me. If you don't like how this is going, just tell me. Like, I always say, like, if it's not going great, just pull your ear and I will know that I should probably leave.
I like it.
So it's like, it's
Avoid
trying to get
conflict.
ahead of that a little bit. Avoid making the conflict something that's like, let's just call it what it is. Like, I'm here to help you.
Yep.
If it's not working, tell me, and I'm not, my feelings aren't going to be hurt. Like, it's going to let me get back to my day faster. It's actually kind of a benefit. So, but the big thing here is understanding where the customer's at, understanding that they are conditioned, like you said, Pavlov's dog, to try to diffuse the situation, avoid conflict, get the information they want, and not ever have to talk to you again if they don't like you.
Yeah.
That's really what they're trying to do. So,
yep, I agree.
Any thoughts there before we move to cheat?
No, I'm good. Yeah, let's move on to cheat. I think most people kind of can feel that first one. I think there's a lot of examples of that. So
yeah,
cheat, what does that look like? How might a customer like cheat within, how is that part of their system? Find that for us.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times people will, it's going to go kind of hand in hand with steal,
okay,
honestly, but they're going to try to get information from you, and then they're going to use those ideas in order to benefit themselves. So like, you get a free bid, and you say like, hey, what would you do here? Like, what kind of stain would you use on this deck? And meanwhile, like, they're trying to take that information and, maybe use it for themselves or use it for another vendor.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the way I see it. Do you see it differently, Michael?
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is that, like, give me your best, like, give me your expertise, give me your recommendations, and then I'll decide what to do with those, as opposed to having an upfront agreement sounding something like, hey, like, happy to help you come up with a solution based on my expertise. If we can agree to a solution and kind of fit within your budget, would that give us an opportunity to work together on this project?
Yeah.
And getting a client to understand that, like, yeah, they're making a buying decision here, as opposed to just like stealing and kind of cheating you and stealing all of your information as to the best way to do the project.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we now have ChatGPT, so people don't have to cheat as much because they can just ask. Like my friend did last week. He was like, "So, is this the right paint to put on my deck?" And it was like a industrial epoxy that ChatGPT had told him to use. So I mean, fortunately, there's still need for our expertise out there. But yes, I mean, this is about trying to figure out ways to find that mutual connection and mutual respect, honestly. Because if we and we think that this conversation is going great at the point of meeting the customer in the on-site visit, and meanwhile, like, you're just there as, like, I don't even know what to call it, but like a sounding board that they don't have to go to the internet for.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I think of it as, I agree with you. And I would add to that and say, like, I think of it as being just like super consultative, right? It is. So the customer's like, oh yeah, like, what kind of prep work do you guys do? And it's like, well, I definitely want to explain that to you. Can I ask you a few questions though? That's going to help me to give a proper recommendation. So how long has it been since you guys had the house painted? Blah, 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 whatever. How long do you guys plan on living here? Do you know what kind of paint is currently here? Like, do you have maybe the old can from the last time it was done? Could I take a look at that? And what you're hopefully seeing here is I'm creating a unique solution for this homeowner based on their current circumstances, their future goals, and things like that, as opposed to just walking up and saying, oh yeah, like the outside of your house, yeah, we use the Sherwin-Williams, super duper, whatever. And like, here's our paint, which again is what everyone else sounds like. So, most homeowners are used to, hey, what kind of paint do you use? Oh yeah, we use Sherwin-Williams because it's the best. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. Well, then that's what the other guy does too. And he was $2,000 less. So I guess I'll just go with him.
For sure. Yeah. It's such a great example.
It's just like ask more questions. As like, again, I keep coming back to, it's like, man, sometimes it does seem that simple, but it's just like right when you're ready to answer the question from the customer, it's like, just pause, ask one more question. And then when you're ready to ask or answer again, like, maybe I should ask one more question. Right. And just like dig and be like, oh, got it. Well, yeah, you guys are going to be selling the house in 2 years. Well, that's different. Now I might recommend something slightly different. But I'm really glad that I asked that, which nobody else has asked yet. And so now you're providing the customer with a better recommendation. It might be more expensive, it might be less, doesn't really matter, because we're now providing them with what they actually need based on what they said, not just based on your assumptions.
Yeah, it's I mean, so it kind of flows its way into steel in a lot of ways, right? Like, and to your point, like, asking questions is so imperative, because if we don't, I think it goes back to this concept we've talked about a lot of times, which is, a lot of people are just trying to sell someone a project they want to sell them, when in reality, we want to find the project the customer wants to do. And so there's a lot of variables in that.
Yeah, and fits within their budget and all the things.
Yeah, all the stuff, priorities, budget, and we don't know what's important to them at the start. So when we just go in and kind of, I think the saying is show up and throw up, it becomes a problem, because we're never going to get that job. And as much as we think it went well, customers are conditioned to make you feel good while you're there, right? So, so let's go to steel. I mean, steel is very similar. It's, thank you for the estimate. We'll get back to you. And then they take that information and try to save a little bit of money, give it to someone else.
Yeah, I think exactly. That's where, we're kind of taking the like verbal recommendations, and now it's like, yeah, if you could just write all that up for me, like, so I can understand exactly what you're doing. Give me your quote, give me your best number, send that over, well, whatever. And all they're now doing is taking your recommendations and probably your price and going to other competitors and seeing what else they can get.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's just call this out because I think this happens in our industry on the other side. I think there's painting companies and owners who do this all the time as customers with our paint vendors. They go to Benjamin Moore and they say, "Hey, what's the price on the the super duper awesome whatever paint?" Doesn't really matter. And they say, "Oh yeah, it's $50 a gallon." And then they turn around and go to Sherwin-Williams and they say, "Okay, so they're going to give me the super duper awesome paint for 50. Like you got to do 45 on your wonderful, amazing paint or whatever." Yeah. And it's just like, we're doing this to them, but we get upset when customers do it to us. That's what it looks like.
For sure. It's one of the interesting things is like, so to combat this, and I've had a few examples recently of reps going out to homes and then the person leaves halfway through the estimate. It's just like, yeah, cool. Just send me the estimate.
Yep.
Like that's a classic one.
Commercial rentals, all the things. Yep. 100%.
Just go to the property, send me a bid. And at first it sounds like, oh, great. Yeah. I mean, there's an opportunity here. Yep. It sounds great. Meanwhile, I believe there was never a chance to work with these people. They were just trying to get a budget number, compare your price to something else, see if you were cheap enough for them. Like, I don't know. I don't know all the things, sure. But it's motivated by, I need a price. And so if you see it as anything but that, I think you're going to run into problems.
Yeah. Yeah. You've turned yourself into a commodity at that point.
Exactly.
You're not. You are perhaps you're providing a custom solution, but because you're giving them like all of the information of exactly what that is without asking for anything in return, then you're stuck there, right? You're now like, you have nothing left for the customer to need. So now all of the power and control is in their hand and they're going to make their decision or not, or whatever. And there's nothing, they have all the leverage in that scenario.
So what do you do? I'll tell you what I do first, okay, and then I want to hear what you do. But I oftentimes, if people don't have the time, I try to reschedule. When I show up, I'm always trying to figure out like, hey, do you still have 45 minutes?
Yep.
If you don't, this isn't a good fit. I want to confirm that. Second, when someone will not agree to a follow-up time, I will not send the estimate. Like if I say like, hey, the one thing I ask in exchange for my time is that we could get together for a chat. And make sure, one, I'm apples to apples because I know you're getting other bids. Two, like give you a chance to just say yes or no. And they're like, nah, just send the number. I'm like, I'm going to be honest. I'm not getting the sense that like there's something off, like something's wrong here. Like pretty much every one of my customers is okay with that because it's helpful.
But I thought it was like like a written rule somewhere that if you go to an appointment, it's like universal law that you have to send them a quote. Is that true? Like I don't have to send them a quote as a sales professional? Crazy.
Wild concept. Yeah. Wild concept, but no, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're wasting your time.
For sure.
You can take advantage of.
Yeah. You're wasting your time. You're also like, just, again, you're giving the customer all of what they want, which is like, here's the how-to playbook on solving their solution based on the consultative approach we just took. Here's all the primers, here's all the paints, here's all the things that I would do and my price, etc. And now they can go and shop that around and probably find somebody to do it cheaper, like in most cases.
Absolutely. Yep. Right. So, well, in some cases, I've even experienced that too. Like they like us better as a vendor and they say, here's the other price. Can you match it? Mm-hmm. And so now that you're just a leverage point for somebody to get a job done at a lower price.
Sure. And it's a race to the bottom.
Race to the bottom. Exactly. So to your point though, like this universal truth of having to always send a bid, what do you do when you're not going to send the bid? How do you handle that?
I think it's, we're direct, like that's going to happen at the home, generally speaking. Right. So to your point, we're having these questions. We send quotes all the time. Don't get me wrong. You brought it up. Like we're having an expectation of, I'm happy to send you a quote. So first of all, we went over it together. We've answered all your concerns. Like we've gone back and forth on the objections. We've isolated those. We've done all the things that we've been talking about on all these podcasts and PaintScout X and all the different things. And a lot of times customers just are like, yeah, like I'm really excited. I like you guys. I really think this is a good system. Yeah, it looks like it would fit within our budget, but I do want to just like talk about it with my spouse, or we want to get one more quote, or whatever that looks like. It's like, okay, great. No problem. I get it. And so just to make sure that we're on the same page, like if we don't work together, what would be that reason? Right? That's a great, powerful question at that point in a conversation. I love to ask, see where we go. But at some point, it's like, okay, great. Sounds like you're going to look it over. You need a couple of days. How about this? It looks like today's Thursday, and probably going to get some quotes over the weekend. I'm going to give you a call on Monday to see if you're ready to move forward and get on the schedule. I know we talked about June. By then we're probably starting to book up, whatever it looks like, right? And what time on Monday are you going to be available? And it's like, that's what I'm looking for, some sense of commitment as to what that next step is going to be. Is that in line with what you were just describing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not giving without getting something back.
Yeah.
And do people always respect it? No, but I'm not willing to do this dance of send me the number and I'll get back to you.
Yep.
Like it's a futile one. The amount of jobs I've ever won on that type of a little interaction is pretty, I want to say, as close to zero as you could get.
Yep.
Because it's not a relationship anymore. This is just about a number. That's all they care about. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be a number, it's at the end of the day.
And again, like sometimes, like a lot of times it's such a defense mechanism. Like it doesn't even necessarily mean that customers are bad. It doesn't even mean that they're not going to book. It does mean though that you will waste your time on a lot of like unnecessary follow-ups and such with people who you think you have a good shot with, who you don't, because we didn't have a good sales appointment or estimate. And like, we didn't ask the difficult questions and things like that. So, that's, I think, what we're trying to avoid. We're not trying to avoid like sending the quote. That's not the actual problem here. That is, the customer's way of getting everything that they want, which is okay as long as you're getting what you want too, which is just like, yeah, that's fine. I just need to know like, what are we doing from here? And we need to have a concrete step. We can both have what we want here. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll add one other thing to that. So when we do not send an estimate, sometimes we don't do it on the spot. Something gets busy. We come back to the office. We're like, shoot, I should have not sent that. We've developed an email that just says, unfortunately at this time, due to our resources, we can't help you with this project. Sure. And it can be a variety of things. Like maybe you didn't realize how rude they were, or all these different things in the moment. You just didn't figure it out. So I think there is that too, where if you feel like this isn't the right customer, that, you're just going to have a problem and they're going to steal, or just going to be an issue. I think that email works well. Yep. I know a lot of people who will jack the price up if they feel like their stuff is getting stolen.
Yep.
Not as big of a fan of that, to be honest, but
I think like steal though can be like somewhat misleading, right? We think of steal as like they're stealing my proprietary information or like my pricing or whatever. Actually, what it usually is just stealing your time. It's stealing your time and the appointment. It's stealing your time from the follow-ups and all the nonsense. Like that, I think, is really what we're mostly talking about, because at the end of the day, what we do, you said it before, it's not that secretive.
No.
Go find it on ChatGPT or whatever, even if it's not always accurate.
Industrial epoxy on your wood deck.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Somebody can walk into Sherwin-Williams and ask them how to paint something, and like, it's probably pretty accurate. Yeah. All right. So lie, cheat, steal, lie again.
Okay.
I think, we've kind of mixed this in as we've been going here, but this is going to be some of the most common. This is what we hear all the time, right? So the front lie, that back end lie, this is the end of the appointment. Jon, this has been great. I really appreciate it, man. Like, your hair looks great today. You smell wonderful. We really like everything that you guys are saying. We're just going to need some time to think about it though. Like, definitely got to talk about it with my, significant other and stuff. So, give us like a week or two and we should be good to go, man. Like, yeah, you smell great. Thanks for coming over. Sounds something like that.
Michael, this is a podcast. How do you know I smell? It's getting awkward. So
have you ever heard that? You ever heard something like that from a customer?
Not only have I heard that, I've actually said that. Those words. I am that customer, man. Like, sometimes it's for lack of information, so I am being real with people. Like, yeah, we got to think about it. We'll get back to you. But a lot of times it's more than that. And I think we what you did was like try to make me feel really good, as if like that's going to somehow make everything better and less confrontational. And I think as salespeople, sales professionals, we misinterpret that as a buying signal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when in reality, it's just trying to let you down easy.
Oh yeah.
And so
sales rep, yeah. In that scenario, you go back to the office, your sales manager's like, yeah, how'd that appointment go with Michael out there? You know, he said I smelled great. Said I'm wonderful. He got good hair. We connected. Yeah. He loves me. Yeah. Like we're booking. Like put that one on the board, man. That one's going to book. I told him we're going to paint that one in July. You might as well just hold that off. Like that's booking for sure. Like that's a for sure
100%
win. Slam dunk.
Yeah. And there's no chance.
You have no chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's, you know, I think once you condition yourself to realize that every part of this interaction means something, and that these are kind of some of the drivers behind this, you can start to position that second lie a little bit differently in your mind. So I often hear like, blah, 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 something's not working for me. That's all I heard out of that statement. Like, I didn't put any deodorant on today, so I smell terribly. I'm wearing a hat. Like you're just a bunch of words, and then okay, cool. Hopefully I never have to see you again. That's really what I'm hearing.
I just want you to get out of my damn house. Like, yes, and I'm a really polite person, and I don't want to have a confrontation. And so if you could just leave and like call me never, that'd be super wonderful.
That would be great. Yeah. So once you realize that's what they're saying, you can start to say something different in return. I think that's the number one thing, is identifying that this process is happening. And I would say, in my experience, this is happening in every one of our sales meetings if we don't get ahead of it. Like it's inevitable. This is the dance that we do as people in North America. I mean, this is North American culture. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I mean, this is a like ingrained, like how we all laugh the same way. I'm not sure. But I think some of the things you have to realize is that because the dance is happening, we can get ahead of it. And so with that, you know, always saying like, hey, I totally get it, man. Like, yeah, we all need time. Like these statements you've said like are so universally true. Of course. Yeah. Like you need time to think about it. I love thinking about things too. But, you know, just so I can be helpful, can I ask just one or two more questions? Like to your point, ask a few more questions. Like, and I think that if we don't do that, this whole, all we're doing is, you know, again, we're just self-fulfilling the whole thing where it's like, great, I'm just that salesperson that leaves. I never get called again. So do you have any lines that you like to use at that point? Because I know we align on this stuff. Like
yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm not trying to trick anybody into anything. I'm just trying to you know, kind of isolate the objections, figure out like, if we don't work together, why would that be? Make sure that I've given them everything they want, right? When somebody says, I need more time, I need to think about it, I need to look it over, I need to get more quotes. What they're really saying is you haven't shown me what I was looking for within the price range of what I thought this was going to be. And so like something's not lining up and I need to go do some more research or get my mind around like that discomfort in my brain from what I was expecting. If you show up and the customers, like they have an idea of what the project should look like, they have an idea what the price is, and you're like, boom, 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 and we have a great conversation. We give them exactly what they're looking for, exactly at the price point, they're going to book on the spot. We've all experienced that, right? And so when it doesn't happen, it's not because the customer like isn't good. It's because we didn't do what we were supposed to in terms of finding and meeting their expectations. And so that's all I'm going to try to figure out at this point, right? You said, you know, something along the lines of like, hey, you know, I'll roll reverse. Oh, John, appreciate the compliments. I work a lot on my hair here and my smell and, you know, my cologne and all the things. I really appreciate you saying those nice things about me. That makes me feel really good. Hey, before I go, I just wanted to make sure that the process of exactly what we were going to do lines up with exactly what you want. There wasn't anything that I described today that doesn't seem like a good solution for you. No, that all sounds good. Okay, great. And I just want to make sure I've captured this right. As far as the schedule goes, you guys were good with that like time period in like the middle of May here. Would that meet your guys' needs? If we were able to get it done in the middle of May, like that would give us a good opportunity to work together. That mid-May works. Okay, great. And I'm just kind of like walking through like kind of the main points of my quote again. Just want to connect here. And then I love that question I mentioned a minute ago. I get the fact that you're going to want to get some more quotes. And you said that you're liking everything that I said. Sounds like there might be an opportunity for us to work together. Appreciate that. After you get those other quotes, if we don't work together, what would be the reason for that?
Well, it's mostly your hair and the way you smell.
Perfect.
So
got it.
It was actually all awful.
Okay, no problem. Sounds like we didn't connect, John. So it sounds like, to be honest with you, we're not kind of jiving. I'm getting the feeling that we're probably just not actually going to work together on this project, which is perfectly okay. Sounds like you actually don't even need me to follow up with you on this one. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, man, dude, I love what you just said is so it's fearful for most sales reps, right? Like to believe that not every sale should be the sale. It's and once you believe that, it's such a wildly freeing thing. Like I don't have to close every job. I don't have to send every estimate. And once you actually believe that, you actually increase your win rate, surprisingly.
I think
so, man, I love that.
I know what we've experienced. I've been so guilty of this. Like as a wimpy sales rep, I'm still like, I'm still a work in progress. I think we all are, is that most people fall into like two buckets. They either book with us or we never talk to them again.
Yeah.
And we just call that a loss. And it's just like, that they didn't book. It's like, no, they didn't not book. You just never talk to them again. There's a big difference, right? That's like this, we refer to that as like a pending quote. Like this bucket of pending quotes is just like perpetually growing. And like they just sit in there forever. And eventually, like after 30 days or whatever, we just kind of get it out of there. But we never actually got closure on that project. But we just assumed, because we never talked to them, that they went with somebody else or they were a cheapskate or blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, no, actually, again, it's something that we needed to do better at the very beginning, at the very, initial appointment.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. And thinking about that in terms of understanding the customer's point of view helps us position that conversation better.
Yep.
And what they're actually saying to us and how they're trying to communicate different things, but they're doing it without conflict. And even like pinpointing some of this stuff, like, another lie is like, oh, I just got to talk to my spouse. And immediately my red flag or my, what do you call it? Like alarm bells go off, red flag. Yep. Really what they're saying is the price is too high.
Yep.
And so I'm like, oh, that's great. Definitely talk to your spouse. Could I just ask, like, is the price a little bit higher than you're expecting? So now I'm like starting to understand these signals of these lies and what they actually mean. Mm-hmm. And I would highly encourage everyone to think about that on their next few sales appointments to say, what are people actually telling me? What is actually going on? Versus what am I trying to do to get this job? That's really what this comes down to.
I think it's this like fear of losing a sale. Like, well, I don't want to be direct. If I ask them, like, tell me, like, is my price in line with what your expectations were? That's like maybe that's too direct, and I might lose the sale. And it's like, you can't lose it. Like, you don't have it. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that we have to go into. This is like, hold it with an open hand. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help you make a good buying decision, whether it's with me or with somebody else. And like, I'm going to ask you some pretty direct upfront questions, if that would be okay with you, as we go, to help you make a good buying decision. And the customers are going to say, oh yeah, like I'd really appreciate it if you'd ask me some really good direct questions to help me make a good decision, because nobody else has done that yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, whether we say it or not. This is something about me. I am mesmerized by amazing salespeople. And I'm always, when I'm in those moments, I just want to be in those moments forever. Because it is like such an amazing art form to me. Yeah. When I feel like I am fully in control of the buying process, and yet the other person is in control of that process.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that those amazing sales experiences that I've had show me that it's really about, those questions, understand what the customer's looking for, and they're direct questions.
Yeah.
Like, these are not like, we don't need to do this dance. It's just like, is this working or is this not working?
Yeah.
Like, does this seem like a good fit or not? Like, how's the price? He's, forget the word budget. It's just like, is this how much you want to spend today? If it's not, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about ways we can make that different or better for you. And so I believe this is an art form. And to your point, like, you're never fully, like, you're always learning this stuff, but this is like, just, it's a beautiful thing when done correctly.
It's not about tricking somebody into buying something they don't want, right?
No, not at all.
It's taking them on this like journey that they want to go on. They've called you out there. They have a problem. They're looking for a good solution, and you're just helping them to understand what that is. And some of the time it's going to be with you, some of the time it's not, and like, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, to kind of wrap up the system, we've talked about it, but it's that hide, right? It's the customer that doesn't get back to you. It's the ghosting, if you will. It's that never-ending pending bucket that I was talking about a minute ago, and it's the opposite of that. How do we avoid that, John?
So I think first off, it's setting expectations around what the next steps are. You talked about that early on. How are we going to connect after I send this information that you want? What's a time? I always tell our team, you got to bring up your calendar. We got to make this concrete. A lot of people are going to say like, oh yeah, just call me whenever. Whenever is never.
Call me in a couple of weeks.
Call me in a couple of weeks. Or yeah, Tuesday is great. Just call me anytime Tuesday. And we want to lock this down to a time, a day, and make it meaningful. So like, hey, I've got time Tuesday at 2:00. Can I put that on my calendar as a time to call you? Can you check your calendar?
And I would add to that though, it's like, so first of all, the question isn't like, when can I follow up? And if I used that phrasing before, it was unintentional. It's when are you going to have a decision made as to who's going to do this painting project for you?
Yeah.
How about next Tuesday? If I call you on Tuesday, do you think you'll have a decision made? Great. How about in the afternoon, like would 3:00 work, or is 5:00 better for you?
Right.
Great. I'm going to call you at 5:00. Let me, like, to your point, I got my phone out here. I'm putting it on my calendar. I don't know if you want to put it on yours, Mr. or Mrs. Customer. So I'm going to call you at 5:00 so that you can let me know if we're going to be able to get you on our schedule or not. And it's okay. If we're not going to be the right fit, I know there's other good providers out there. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you could just let me know that either way, so that I don't have to keep wasting my time, calling you and wondering how we're doing.
Yeah. And like that whole idea of making them aware that no is okay is really a big part of this, because people avoid you because they want to tell you no. And that whole, they're not calling me back, they're a jerk, is actually just a self-defense mechanism. So yeah, to your point, which is great, like, this isn't, I think the word follow-up follow-up's an F word. It's a little bit dangerous. I don't want to say that around my kids. So, it's like, how do we do this to be the most comfortable? And like you said, understand that no is okay, and that this is a time to check in about the buying decision. Mm-hmm. I do find that like an apples to apples discussion is helpful. And so for me, I like that. Actually, I think it's worth a shot. Like, just asking about the decision point. I like to frame it like, in exchange for my time, the one thing I ask is that we could have a follow-up. Mm-hmm. This is really to your benefit. You're going to see estimates that are all over the place. Like, our industry is well known for having low prices and prices that are really high. And a lot of that has to do with the scope. Mm. And so you're going to see scopes that are all over the place. And I think the reason I ask that we have this discussion is to make sure that I've got the scope correct. And so if you're okay, once you have those other bids, could we connect just to make sure it's apples to apples?
Sure. Yeah, I love it.
Because at that point, they're probably going to have a buying decision in mind, but we're not doing the discussion for that purpose. It's actually to their benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think most people have a buying decision by the time you leave their house.
For sure.
If nothing, They might just be confirming that, right? They might need to confirm, like, I'm going to go with them or not. I'm not 100% in that. Let me just double check. I want to review it. I want to go online, read the reviews, do the things like that are going to make me fully comfortable in that decision. But most people are ready to go pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's interesting that you say that, because by the time you leave, they know whether they want to talk to you again or not, essentially.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, personally, again, I don't every time I buy stuff, like I mentioned my example before, like I'm not doing more research. I kind of knew right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, these types of things should help you have people hide from you less. So set the expectations, set the next step with them, understand specifically when that's going to happen. And, at that point, if they don't respect it, I think a lot of times people are just uncomfortable with no. And so they're not going to take your call because they want to tell you no. And so we want to close these things off, though, because as salespeople, I think we're either, depending on the day, hyper optimistic or hyper pessimistic, depending on how many sales we made. And so it's like that. If you're optimistic, it's like, well, those 10 jobs that haven't called me back, those are for sure going ahead. And we got to figure out yes or no's, get that off the plate, close them out.
I think too, like we teach our team on that second time of touching base with the customer after the estimate. If you didn't reach out to, you call them, hey, let's call on Tuesday. Great. I call you, you don't answer. I text you, I leave you a voicemail. Hey, just honoring that commitment. You asked me to call on Tuesday at 5:00. Said that I would. You said that you'd have a decision today. So that's the reason for my call. If you could just let me know where if we're going to be working together, so I know if I need to get you on my schedule, that'd be great. Person doesn't call you back for a day or two. You call them again. And at that point, I've heard this called a breakup email or a breakup message. And it sounds something like, hey, John, second time I've called now. We were supposed to talk on Tuesday. Wasn't able to get a hold of you. We did have that commitment that you were going to give me a decision by Tuesday. Typically, when I haven't heard from somebody for the second time, it means that they don't want to work with me. So if I don't hear from you within the next day or two, I'm going to go ahead and close out that quote and just assume that we're not going to be working together anymore. Or if you just need a little bit more time to think about it, just shoot me a quick text, let me know that, and schedule another time where we can talk. And Perfect. Typically so one of two things happens. It's over and I don't have to waste any more time with it. Or they're going to send me a message like, no, I'm really sorry. We just had a couple of games for my kids, or we were out of town, or whatever that looks like. We are still really interested. I actually just genuinely do need another day or two. We just haven't connected yet. Life's busy. But I know you guys need an answer. If you can just give me till tomorrow. Right. And I'm shocked at how often when I'm just direct and not begging them for the work, that sometimes they'll come back and be like, wait, no, don't close it out yet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, cool. Second calls, emails, perfect. Let's wrap this up, Michael. I think if you're having problems with people lying, cheating, stealing, hiding on you, I think this is our opportunity to use our system versus their system. If you haven't heard of the Sandler system, definitely check it out. There's a lot to be learned from it. But overall today, our system is about rapport, upfront agendas, discovery, and clear next steps. And I think you're going to avoid some of those pitfalls and have better conversations with your customers and ultimately lead to more sales. So 100%. Thanks for checking it out. Thank you, Michael.
Good stuff.
If we're always told that we need to tell you guys to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the content. We'd love to continue doing this. And I want to say just quickly as we end, we've had such amazing comments and feedback about this podcast. People have been very encouraging. I know I've felt that encouragement, and we love making this content, and every little bit of encouragement helps. So feel free to leave something in the comments and like and subscribe. Guys, thanks very much.
Awesome. See you soon.
This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.